With every set released, we receive a bounty of new cards that can become format staples. And while Throne of Eldraine didn't have the biggest impact in Commander, there were still a few standout cards that could be used as the commanders themselves or just complement existing decks. And today we're going to be taking a look at them. This is the top 10 best Throne of Eldraine cards for Commander. One note also before we begin, while the Brawl decks may have been supplemental products, I felt like the cards were just too good to keep from this list, so I will be counting them towards the final card pool. It's no secret that Boros isn't the strongest color pair in Commander, but it does have a few cards that are strong format additions. Assembled Legion is a strong card as over time it will create a veritable token army for you. And while Outlaws Merriment isn't as strong as Assembled Legion, the ability to get a free token at the beginning of your upkeep is never a bad thing to have. Just slap this bad boy into your token generating deck and watch as your board state grows over time. Tutoring is one of the most powerful things you can do in Magic. Finding the right card at the right time is insanely powerful, setting you up for combo wins or just letting you answer current threats to your game. Wishclaw Talisman comes into play with 3 wish counters on it. Pay a generic mana, tap it, and sack one of the wishes to tutor for any card straight into your hand. Of course, the major caveat of the card is that an opponent then gains control of Wishclaw Talisman, but this can easily be used to your benefit. You could always just tutor for something and win the game on the spot without having to worry about what your opponent could grab. Or, even more importantly, you could flex your politics game, making sure to give the claw to the opponent that will benefit you the most. This kind of utility makes Wishclaw Talisman a very powerful artifact for many, many decks. Torpor Orb is already a card that can mess up the strategy of any rune deck around, but add to it the ability to also mess up dying triggers and you have one powerful hate bear. Hushbringer is the kind of card that I can see quickly going into a Lavinia Azorius Renegade or Gaddock Teeg deck in order to quickly shut down strategies from any number of opponents. A 4 CMC Flying Death Touch Lifelink 2/3 Fairy Warlock in Esper colors is already a pretty decent starting point. Add in the ability to give other flying creatures +1/+0 and you start to get something great. But when you make it so that you create a 1/1 flying blue fairy creature token each time you cast an artifact or enchantment, you suddenly find yourself with a pretty powerful commander. ALELA Artful Provocateur is another commander option that can be built in a multitude of ways, making for a fun, versatile commander option. At 9 CMC, the Magic Mirror is quite the costly card at first glance. But dig a little deeper, as in literally the first line of text, and you'll see that any worries about cost are about as justified as Tybalt's inclusion in War of the Spark. When your legendary artifact costs 1 generic mana less for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, you get an idea of where exactly you'd want to put it. Spellslinger decks can very quickly get this onto the field, and that's where the fun really starts. For one, you have no maximum hand size. Now, I don't know about you, but I love having massive hands. Well, not literally massive hands, but, you know, having a lot of cards in my hand, and never mind. And to get said giant hands, you'll want to draw a lot of cards. This is where the mirror really shines. Yes, pun absolutely intended. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to put a knowledge counter on the magic mirror, and then draw a card for each of these counters on it. If this card goes unanswered for too long, you'll be drawing into answers for any possible threat, including threats against the mirror, making this an easy addition to many commander decks. I love Bant. It's arguably the strongest color pairing in Commander, with the ramp of green, card draw of blue, and removal of white. So it's no surprise that I'm a huge fan of our Brawl buddy CHULANE, Teller of Tales. When a legendary creature can already do 2 of the best things to do in Commander, ramping and drawing cards, you know you have something special on your hands. With his ability to drop cheap creatures on the field and draw into more, CHULANE can get out of hand really fast. And more importantly, his abilities are broad enough that you could build his deck any number of ways. A fun commander through and through. If we're being honest here, I'd probably put Dance of the Manse on the list, if only because it rhymes. And I like rhyming. I also like getting to return artifacts and enchantments back to the battlefield from the graveyard. And in Azorius colors, Dance of the Manse slots easily into any number of Banchantment or Esper artifact decks. Plus, with the ability to turn all of those artifacts and or enchantments into 4/4 creatures, the Manse could be dancing all over your opponent's faces for a late-game win con. As with the Magic Mirror, the 9 CMC cost of the Great Henge is a bit disconcerting at first glance. And just like with the Magic Mirror, the next line of text explains how to get the card out quicker. When your spell costs X less, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, and your card is mono green, you quickly get a feel for just how easily this can enter play. But unlike the Mirror, the Great Henge is in the color best known for ramp, making it a bit easier to hardcast if need be. Can it tap for green-green? It sure can. Do you gain 2 life when you tap it for green-green? You sure do! And that's not even the best part. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and draw a card. This is the kind of card that could be slotted into nearly any deck containing green, as each ability will almost always be relevant. Signets have become a staple for many commander decks. For the low price of 2 generic mana, you get a rock that gives you the ability to tap it, then pay 1 generic mana to receive mana of any 2-color pair. This helps mana fixing in so many decks, especially those lacking green. And now we get a mana rock that, for the same 2 generic mana price, nets you 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Like the Signets or Fellwar Stone before it, this is the kind of color fixing that can be so important in basically any deck. Even monocolored decks benefit from the added ramp this gives. This card is the definition of a format staple. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse are some of the best forms of mana fixing any deck, especially casual decks, can have. Sack the land and find whatever basic you need at the time. The biggest caveat, of course, comes in the form that the land will enter the battlefield tapped, slowing down your tempo. But Fabled Passage fixes that issue. As long as you have 4 lands on the field, which in Commander is more likely than not, your Fabled Passage will then untap. This is a strictly better Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse. And sure, Prismatic Vista is still a better option, but sometimes that 1 life can make or break a game. Only the fringiest of fringe decks will not care about the kind of land tutoring Fabled Passage can do, making it one of the best lands in the entire format. And it's that reason I'm naming it as #1 commander card for the set. So those are my top 10 Throne of Eldraine cards for Commander. But of course, these are just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what cards you think I missed. Maybe you hate Fabled Passage. Maybe you think there was another card that should have been #1. Maybe you just think I'm a big stinky man who needs to shut up. Either way, let me know. Well, except for the shut up thing. I mean, I guess you could say it, but probably not going to happen. But dreams do come true and all that. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out some of my other videos. I've been doing a lot of Throne of Eldraine opening booster packs. And yeah, give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you all next time.